Good day, viewers. Welcome to Francium TV. Keep watching, keep learning. Hey, remember, when it starts, don't touch that dial. Also, kindly please click on the subscription button below to get subscribed to Francium TV. Cool.
Good day, viewers. Welcome to Friendships TV. In today's video, we'll be talking about an interesting part of biology, which happens to be the biology practical. In today's video, we'll be concentrating more on the biology practical. But before I start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Tutor Francis, and in today's video, we'll be talking about biology practical. In Waec exam, biology is actually divided into three sections. We have the objective, we have the theoretical aspect, and we have the practical aspect. But in today's video, we'll be concentrating more on the practical. Recently, Waec just dropped the specimen for biology practical, and it happens to be 13 in number. But in today's video, I'll only be discussing 5 of the specimen. I'll be discussing specimen A, B, C, D, and E. In today's video, I'll be concentrating on 5 of the specimen. Specimen A happens to be weevil damaged bean seed. That is specimen A. Specimen A. Some of the likely questions that Waec can actually ask from specimen A can be number 1, identify specimen A. And specimen A happens to be weevil damaged bean seed. The next question that can actually come from specimen A, they can actually ask us to describe the physical appearance of specimen A. How does specimen A look like? Specimen A is eaten or is being damaged or infected with weevil. Now, the next question that can actually come from specimen A, they can ask us to identify the pests affecting beans. They can actually ask the question in this format: why is the beans perforated? Or why is the beans damaged? Now the answer will be this: why is the beans perforated? Number 1, the beans is perforated because weevil actually acted on the beans. Apart from that, they can also ask us, why is the beans being affected with weevil? Number 1, the beans can actually be affected by weevil because it is not properly stored, or it is not stored in a dry environment, or there is a mixture of old stock and new stock of what? Beans. Now, apart from that, again, they can also decide to ask us what type of insect, what is the feeding mechanism of weevil. Weevil has what is called the boring mouth part in order to pierce hole inside storage food or storage crop. They can also ask us, apart from weevil, what other insects affect beans? We have rats. Or what other animals affect beans? Rats, rabbits. They can also affect beans. They can also ask us, apart from beans, what other crop can weevil affect? Weevil can affect maize, it can affect guinea corn, it can affect what? Rice. They can also ask us from specimen A. I'm only trying to repeat some of the likely questions from specimen A. They can also ask us what class or what phylum does weevil belongs to. Now, weevil belongs to the phylum Arthropoda, and it belongs to the class Insecta. They can also ask us for the mode of or the adaptation. What are the adaptive mechanisms of weevil? How does weevil operate? How does weevil affect beans? Now, number 1, weevil have what is called the boring mouth part in order to pierce hole. Number 2, weevil have wings in order for them to fly. Number 3, they are very small in size so that they will be able to penetrate for easy work penetration into what? Into beans. Now they can also ask us, what are the economical effects of weevil? What are the economical effects of weevil to beans? Number 1, it will reduce the quality of the beans. Number 2, it will lead to what is called a shortage to the farmer. Number 3, it will make the beans unfit for what? For eating. They can also ask us what are the ways of preventing weevil. How can we prevent weevil? Now, when we want to prevent insects or pests in biology, we have different methods. We have the biological method using living organisms. We have the cultural method or the use of what chemicals such as insecticide, pesticide. We can also use those ones to control what weevil. That is for specimen A. Now when we are talking about specimen B, because I don't want to waste time, please kindly click on the subscription button in order to get full updates about this practical. Now when we are talking about specimen B, specimen B happens to be viable bean seed. Now they were supposed to identify specimen B. Specimen B, according to Waec 2022, is viable bean seed. Now they were supposed to identify the type of crop specimen B belong to. Specimen B happens to be what? A leguminous plant, legumes. They belong to the crop which is called what? Legumes. They can also ask us what are the advantages of legumes. Number one, this can actually serve as what? Cover crop in order to prevent what? Erosion. Number two, what are the advantages of legume? They can help in what? Converting atmospheric nitrogen to nitrate. Because of that, those are the importance of what? Of legumes. They can also ask us what class of food is beans. Beans belong to the class of food which is known as for protein. They can also ask us that what are the deficiency of protein. The deficiency of protein is what? Kwashiorkor. Now they can also ask us because now specimen B happens to be viable bean seed. And specimen C happens to be maize soak in water, dry maize grain soak in what? In water. Now they can ask us to, number one, they can ask us to talk about the differences between specimen specimen B and specimen C. That is the differences between beans and maize. They can also ask us what type of food, what class of food is specimen C. Specimen C happens to be a what? A carbohydrate food. They can also ask us to test for what? Test for the presence of starch in specimen C. They can ask us to test for the presence of starch. Now, in this particular experiment, it is very simple and straightforward. The only thing we just need to do is to get our maize. After getting the maize grain, add iodine solution, specimen C plus iodine solution. Now the observable features we'll be observing a change in colour which is called blue black. We'll be observing a blue black coloration, and when a blue black coloration is observed, we can actually conclude that carbohydrate is what? Present. They can also ask us what are the advantages of specimen B, because specimen B happens to be beans. What are the advantages or what are the functions of our proteinous food? Number one, they help in what? Repair of what? Worn out tissues. Number two, they are responsible for growth. Number three, they aid reproduction. They help in the formation of what? Enzymes and what? Hormones. Those are the functions of what? Proteinous food. Now they can also ask us what are the functions or what are the functions of what? Specimen D. Specimen, okay, they can also ask us what are the functions of what? Specimen C. Because specimen C happens to be our maize grain. And maize happens to belong to the class carbohydrate. Because of that, they can also ask us what are the functions of carbohydrate food. Number one, it provides the body with what? Energy. Number two, it's actually what? A good source of what? Heat. It produces heat in order to what? Regulate what? Body what? Temperature. Now, the likely question that can actually come from specimen B and specimen C, they can ask us to dissect specimen B. After dissecting, they can ask us to draw. Now, at the end of this video, I'll be dropping a note in order for me to show you guys the diagram, in order for me to show the labeling, and also in order for me to assist you guys better. Now, they can also ask us to dissect. They can also ask us to dissect specimen C, which happens to be the maize grain. After dissecting, they can also ask us to what? Draw. Now, have it at the back of your mind. They can ask us to talk about the similarities and the differences between specimen B and specimen C. Now, I'll be talking about specimen D and specimen E very quickly. Now in this year Waec, specimen D happens to be soldier termite, while specimen E honeybee. Now the question will be in this way. Number one, identify specimen D and specimen E. That's the first question. Number two, they will ask you what type of insect is specimen D and specimen E. Specimen D and E are social insects. They will also ask you to give reason to back up your answer. One of the reason is that specimen D and E undergo division of labour. That's number one. Number two, specimen D and E lives in colony. Number three, they exhibit division of labour. Now apart from that again, they can also ask you for the similarities between specimen D and specimen E. Specimen D and E are both arthropods. Specimen D and E belongs to the class Insecta. Specimen D and E have segmented body. Specimen D and E are divided into the head, the thorax and the abdomen. Specimen D and E have exoskeleton. They both possess exoskeleton. Now the next question can be this. They can ask you to identify the habitat of specimen D and E. Where do they live? Specimen D, which is soldier termite, can be found in what? Dead wood, or they live on wood. While specimen E, which is honeybee, can be found in nests. They can also ask you for the respiratory organ of specimen D and E. The respiratory organ of specimen D and E happens to be the trachea. They make use of the same respiratory organ. They can also ask you for the excretory organ of specimen D and E. The excretory organ of specimen D and E happens to be the same, malphigian or tubulus. Now they can also ask you the type of mouthpart possessed by what? Specimen D. Specimen D, remember specimen D happens to be soldier termite, and they possess biting and what? Chewing what? Mouthpart. Now they can ask you for the mechanism of the biting and chewing mouthpart. Now they possess for strong mandible and maxillae for biting and what? Chewing. Now for honeybee, they can ask you what type of mouthpart does honeybee possess, which happens to be specimen E. They possess piercing and what? Sucking mouthpart. That's why they suck nectars. They possess piercing and what? Sucking mouthpart. They can also ask for the differences between specimen D and specimen E. Now, in specimen D, there is absence of wing. While in specimen E, there is presence of wing. In specimen D, there is absence of proboscis. While in specimen E, there is presence of what? Proboscis. Now, they can also move further by asking for the economic importance of specimen D. What are the economic importance of specimen D? Now, specimen D helps in increasing what? Soil fertility. Specimen D can also serve as a what? A good source of what? Protein. They can also ask you for the economic importance of specimen E. Specimen E helps to bring about what? Pollination, and it also serves as a source of what? Honey. Now, they can also ask us to draw specimen D and specimen E. Now, in the next video, I'll be talking about the other specimen, but kindly click on the subscription button and